Hello and welcome to the Freedom Zone, where the truth is set free whether you like it or not. I'm your host Candace, and I'm here to talk to you today about a few things that went on recently. Let's start with our president's visit to Europe this week. It seems that the mayor of London, Saqib Khan, decided to pick a fight with our president, which he started it. Most news companies won't tell you that, but he did start it, and his insulting comments were very offensive. And then he said that Trump wasn't welcome, even though it wasn't a reflection of the American people, just of Trump personally. So this was the Trump's response. Couldn't resist that. Actually, if you play with the fire, you're going to get Trump burnt, which he did. He tweeted back that Khan was a stone cold loser, which he is. And he repeated this statement at a joint press conference with Theresa May. Not only is Khan a tiny little man, he's a small person of large incompetence, according to his record. I personally am extremely insulted by this man of what he said to my president, and I don't appreciate his words. He's not got the people of London's best interest at heart, and he needn't assume that my president isn't welcome over there, because he's been warmly received by many, many people. He also traveled with his beautiful, lovely, classy, and intelligent First Lady, Melania. She was dressed elegantly to a T, as you see her here with Camilla Parker Bowles, who is Prince Charles's wife. She's classy, she's smart, she speaks 5 languages, she looks marvelous, and her outfit was a nod to Princess Diana, which I appreciate that because she was the people's princess. It's nice to have an intelligent First Lady. And Camilla tried, but she's kind of frumpy as usual. But she and Charles as a team are a perfect match of meh. So, the Trumps are in London to commemorate the 75th anniversary of D-Day, which is today. I was listening to President Trump's speech on the beaches of Normandy, where the American cemetery is, and all of our brave heroes are buried. And it was a very moving speech. He said that the people were the pride of our republic that were buried there. And as someone else had said, all of our true heroes are there from that battle. It was the largest invasion ever launched. It happened 75 years ago. The U.S. Allied forces landed on Normandy Beach in France and began the eradication of the Third Reich's army in the European theater. It's hard to think about how much courage and bravery it took to do that. You're coming out of a Higgins boat with probably about 90 pounds of equipment on your back, into the water, probably about waist deep. They're shooting at you. There's spikes and all kinds of metal around the beach. You're trying to fight your way through that. And there's people on Point du Hoc trying to shoot you down. It had to be an extremely terrifying experience, but yet these young men that were in their 20s, maybe 30s, and had their whole life ahead of them, charged on, and they pushed through, and they pushed through all the way to Germany, so that the world could be free, so that we would have the freedom to do what we want and live our lives as we choose. And we don't always use it for good. You've got a lot of protesters in London. A lot of them were bussed in, so it took quite an effort to bring a large crowd, but for all the loss of life of D-Day, people such as Khan and the protesters who compare our President, Trump, to Hitler. It's amazing. These people would be speaking German today if it wasn't for the Allied forces and the American forces. And for their great sacrifice, they can compare our president to Hitler, as you see here, and draw a terrible picture of their own prime minister, which is terribly disrespectful. And as I don't understand the comparison between President Trump and Hitler, because President Trump he's not eradicated thousands and thousands of Jews, gays, dwarfs, people with mental and physical handicaps. No, he's helped us all. He's brought our economy back. He's brought manufacturing jobs back, and they continue to come back. He's working on every promise that he has given us in the campaign, and would have more of them done if he wasn't pushing uphill through Jello with the Democrats fighting him every step of the way. And I saw one protester with a sign that had something nasty to say about him, and he said that they were looking for a socialistic future. As I've said before, socialism is the training bra of communism, but the greatest generation fought and died so that people can go out and say what they want or do what they want. It's just wrong to think that communism or socialism is going to do anything for anybody. The people of Argentina are a definite example of how that just absolutely does not work. It doesn't work anywhere, and I don't care who applies it, it still does not work. My grandmother worked for Bell Bomber during the Second World War in Rockmart, Georgia, and there were so many women that were left here behind while their men went to war, and we ran the country during that time. And that's quite a remarkable feat, considering women stayed at home all the time, mostly as a rule during that decade or during that era. It wasn't until the war broke out that they were needed. I know that where I grew up, Canton North Carolina has a paper mill, and the women ran that while the men were at war. So I mean, you think about the sacrifices that were made 75 years ago today, and it's awe-inspiring, if nothing else. You had rangers that scaled Point du Hoc and took out machine gun nests that were tearing up our troops. The bravery of the people in that era, and the men who knew they may not come back, but they still pressed on. They saved their comrades. They pulled people out of the water because a lot of them couldn't get through because of the heavy weight of their equipment and the way that the tides were. And it wasn't, nature doesn't always can cooperate with man's plans. So it was very intense. It had to be very intense, and I cannot imagine myself or many people that I know that would have the courage to do what they did for us, for the world, 75 years ago today. My daughter's named after a paratrooper. His name was Joseph Brodicki. Her name's Joe, first part of it. Anyway, and he was one of the ones that liberated Dachau concentration camp. He would never speak of it very often because it was extremely traumatic to him. But, you know, these are the people who saved all the people in the concentration camps that were still alive, that were able to be saved, because there weren't a whole lot of them. People that say that the Holocaust didn't happen, or, you know, that it was made up. President Dwight D. Eisenhower said at the time he was Allied commander of the European theater, to take all the pictures that they could and make all the records that they could of the Holocaust and the concentration camps, because one day some idiot would say it didn't happen, and his words have proven to be prophetic. It's amazing to me how anyone seeing the pictures, seeing the locations, because they are open for viewing to the public, could ever come up and say that it didn't happen. It was the biggest tragedy and genocide that has ever happened in Europe, for sure. Well, one of them, there's been several, but for that one, it was a terrible, terrible thing. And We hope that we never have to deal with that again, but people have forgotten. They've forgotten how things start. Hitler started a little bit at a time. He got a few people at a time. He added the common enemy of the Jews, who somehow had done everything to make Germany a bad place. They were the common enemy, which is a fairly normal start on a dictator's road to complete control. They find someone to rail against, and then they get the people to unite around him. Hitler was a penny postcard painter who was very upset because he didn't get into art school because they said he wasn't good enough. So I suppose he decided to take over the world in that. But he started small, and you would think, how in the world did he get people to follow him? Like thousands and thousands of people in Germany to follow his ideas in his Third Reich, which was supposed to last for 1,000 years, blah, blah, blah. It looks like to me, and I've heard many people who were in Germany at the time say the same thing, there are many people that are following that kind of doctrine from other people now. They listen to fake news, they listen to people of the liberal left, and they just quote them. They don't ever look up anything. So it's a shame. We're so proud today to honor our heroes. We're so proud of our president and giving the most moving speech of his career. It absolutely brings tears to your eyes, and I recommend that anyone who didn't get to hear it, stream it. It'll probably be on plenty of sites and locations on the internet. And it was just absolutely beautiful. So we're going to go to break now, and when we come back, we'll have a few more things to talk about.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Hi, I'm Rhonda the Mattress Lady, and this is my husband Gary, owners of Mattress Overstocked in LJ next to Walmart.
And we want to earn your business. From the time you walk in our door to the time we deliver your new mattress to your door, you will see the difference. Our selection and prices are the best in North Georgia, and customer service is our top priority. So y'all come on in and let us help you find the right mattress at the right price. That's Mattress Overstocked in LJ next to Walmart.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and LJ, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World. In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Hello and welcome back to the Freedom Zone for our second half. I'm your host Candace, and I've got a few more things that we ought to talk about this week. Our congressional illustrious leader, Nancy Pelosi, while our wonderful president is in Europe, she decided to sneak around and pass a bill about the Dreamers and for immigration. And they rushed to pass that, give a pathway to citizenship to the Dreamers if they meet certain conditions and to achieve higher education or serve in the military. And they were pleased as punch to hear that Mitch McConnell said he would probably bring it to the Senate floor for a vote. Now, if everyone will remember, President Trump offered them a lovely deal for Dreamers, for immigration, and for many other things that they wanted back at the first of the year when we had a government shutdown, and they would hear nothing of it. The bill they passed contained no monies for border security or the humanitarian crisis for the overloaded housing conditions in the border. There's no money for the wall, no money for additional border agents, no money for any kind of technology, nothing, because they refuse to acknowledge that there's a crisis on the border. Last night, if you listened to any of Fox News like Hannity, they had on the ICE and border security, the one that's in charge of that, and he said it was a national emergency. It absolutely was. There's so many people coming over. We've had as many in a month as we've had for the whole fiscal year since like 2016. Last month, that was the same amount. 100,000 a month is what's coming over, and they're not coming just from Mexico and Central South America. They're coming from Africa. They're coming from China, from other places, the Middle East. I don't have a problem with Dreamers. I think they could not help the fact that they were brought over here as infants or toddlers. If they don't have a criminal record, if they're not trying to get public assistance, and they pay their taxes, I don't have a problem with that. However, the Democratic Party has got to realize and has got to acknowledge the fact that we have a crisis. We have no place to put people that we retain. We have no people that are able to work 24/7 because they've got so many people and just so few border agents. They're working at night and day. They're taking 72% of them away from law enforcement duties, and that's unfair. That's wrong. They don't need to be working like that. Monday they showed a video of 116 people from Africa crossing the Rio Grande in the middle of the night. This is not Mexicans, Central South Americans. The people in the world have learned that if they get to Mexico, they can cross our border because it's just like an open door. Just everybody come on in. It's no big deal, and it has to stop. There's absolutely no reason why we can't have a border fence, why we can't get more border agents. You've got people like Alejandro Ocasio-Cortez, and they're saying they want to get rid of ICE. Well, if you get rid of ICE, what are you going to do about all the criminals who have criminal records here, criminal records in their own country, that are coming in, they're joining gangs, they're killing people, they're doing horribly bad things, and you don't have a law enforcement agent to take care of that. You're just going to let them come into the country and willy-nilly about as they please, leaving a trail of bodies or victims or whatever. That's certainly not going to work. I mean, this is serious, people. I mean, you've got to contact your congressman, your senator, and you need to let them know that we've got to stop people at the southern border, because Pelosi is not going to say any. She's in denial. She's going to deny and deny and deny that anything happens, that she thinks that Trump's making it up. Well, you've got border agents, you've got people in the cabinet that are in charge of the border saying this is a emergency, all-out national emergency. It's a big deal, and you need to call your representative and put the pressure on them to stop this, to get money for things like border security instead of, underwater basket weaving in another country, the kind of junk that they want to put through that we don't need to spend money on. So call your representative, and while you're on the phone or on the email with them, tell them about has-been John Kerry and Ben Rhodes. These are previous Secretary of State and Chief of Staff for President Obama. You think, well, what about them? They're not in power anymore. Well, that's a good point, because they're not in power anymore, but yet they are in Iran. Again, Kerry's already been caught over there towards the first of the Trump presidency, but yet they're over there again advising Iran what to do about the escalation, such as the flotilla and the sanctions and all the foreign policy that President Trump and his administration are putting on Iran. These sanctions are working. Every time Iran wants to rattle the saber, our president's already said, "You want to start? I'll finish. That's fine. No problem." But we can't have these people in direct violation of the Logan Act going to a foreign country and talking to a hostile entity such as Iran, the #1 sponsor of terrorists, and telling them, "Don't do this, do that, just wait, he'll be out of office maybe," or whatever. That is not your business. And if it was me and I was the president, I would pull their passports, and I don't care where they were in the world, they could get home on their own, even if they had to get a life raft and swim across the Atlantic or whatever. That's wrong. That is absolutely wrong. It is illegal. And Representative Waltz of Florida recently called these people out on the violation of the Logan Act, because it's the policies that President Trump is putting into play on all these countries are starting to pinch them hard, and they're starting to want to come to talk to him about remedying the situation. But if someone's going behind your back and working against you, there is no way that things can get done. It's just impossible. And these people need to go to jail. They need to be brought up on trial, and if it is found that they for sure are doing this, as it's been reported, they need to go to jail. It's wrong. It's almost treasonous. I just can't understand why anyone would allow this to go on. They know it's happening, and it's got to stop. In some old news, Hillary and Donna Brazile still think that the Russians stole the election. Poor Hillary. She lost, and she can't shut up. And Donna Brazile, who I feel like wrote her book in order to protect herself from being murdered at some point, or hitting her head and falling down steps or something, because she ratted out Hillary about having answers to the debate questions and things that the DNC did, such as, shafting Bernie, who I don't care for, but he did deserve a fair chance just like everybody else. And he didn't get it. I think now he's kind of a just so 2016, but you've got someone even more, I don't know, he's like a slug, is Joe Biden, because all he wants to talk about is same old, and if anybody's ever followed his career, you find out that he likes to take other people's bold, imaginative speeches and turn it into his speech by just changing a few words, which by all accounts, most legalities are called like that are called plagiarism. So he's a has-been that's trying to run. The rest of them are, I don't know, wackadoodles far afield, I would say, because they're not making any sense. They're all saying exactly the same thing, and none of them have a plan for anything that would benefit you and me. So keep your eye on the comedy show, because that's about what it is. It's not much more than that. We've still got Mueller running around. Congress still wants to impeach the president on nothing. They've even resurrected John Dean from Watergate fame, who to try to give them ideas on how they can impeach the president. Impeachment comes from high crimes and misdemeanors. He has not committed any of those, and there was no collusion. There was no obstruction. If you have no crime, there's no way you can obstruct the investigation of a crime, and it's just getting out of hand and ridiculous. The more that they dig into the Mueller report, they have seen that he's altered some evidence as far as like voicemails from Trump and Flynn's lawyers. And it's just like taking verses out of the Bible out of context. It'll prove your point, but it's not what it said. So it's ridiculous. The deep state's still running around. Unfortunately, they're running around in Iran. They're running around in Washington. God knows where else. And as American voters, we need to contact our representatives and let them know that we don't like it. So we're coming to the end of our show, and I'd like to mention that you can contact me on Twitter, Facebook, at my email, and Instagram. We have those out there for you in case you want to comment on anything that I have said. And I'd love to hear from you. And we're here at Fetch Your News to try and be real news, and we are real news because we won't report fake news like CNN, MSLSD, ABC, NBC, and all of those who have absolutely lost the trust of the people. We're here to tell you the truth as best we can find it, and we hope you'll join us again next week, and you'll check out our websites and for articles and different things that we have for your information. And we're very happy that you joined in today, and I hope you'll come back and see me next week. Thank you, and for being with the Freedom Zone, where the truth is set free if you like it or you don't.